Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Porch Talk. We're on episode 9 now of our show. This episode is presented to you by Wyatt pole holders. If you have fishing poles that you'd like to display safely on the wall, or just need a way to get them off the floor, Wyatt pole holders has what you need. Sold on Etsy, he has a nice selection of fishing racks to fit your needs. Pine, oak, and poplar are just some of the wood used to craft these beautiful racks. Engravings are also available upon request. It's Wyatt pole holders.
If you live in Southwest Virginia, Southern West Virginia, or Eastern Kentucky, or anywhere nearby those areas, and you're looking for equipment rentals, anything from backhoes, loaders, and jackhammers, excavators, they have operator services. Anything you need to get jobs done around your house, or small or big, give Cantrell Holdings Equipment a call. It's 276-596-3078. Again, that is Cantrell Holdings Equipment Rentals. Look up their Facebook page and give them a like. If you look up their Facebook page, they do rent, like they'll have sometimes drawings on winning like gift cards or something. They've done that before, so be sure to give their Facebook page a like for stuff like that. But if you have any questions, you can call them at 276-596-3078.
We also want to give a little shout out to a shop that's on X right now, or Twitter, the Southwest Virginia shop. This shop has hats, apparel, and more. They're created by Virginia Tech alum Jason Swartz. Hope I'm saying that right. They had contacted us and sent us a message this week, and we just kind of want to throw it out there to you, what they told us. And as we continue to go week to week with this show, we'll get some more information from them and put it out there for you guys and coaches or schools that are listening. They said they would like to work with more high schools or athletic departments to bring them hats or gear they are proud of and they can rep. So if anybody out there would be interested in that, get a hold of us. We'll direct you to them. I will say that based on what I can see on X, their products are great. They got Bud Foster out there repping them right now. So, I mean, this isn't some little phony clothing site online. I mean, they're doing great things up there. And I think that the main thing for me is they love Southwest Virginia and they want to be a good supplier to these schools and give these kids something that they can wear around and be proud of. And it's pretty much locally made. You know, it's in this area. And Jamar, I think you actually bought a hat from them this week.
I got this. I don't know if you can see it there, but the stars on the thing is Hokey Tracks. I know you love that. And
it's good quality, though. I mean,
got
I
it
like that.
3 days, I want to say, after I ordered it. Yeah. There's not much time at all, so very fast shipping. And I was very surprised when it got there as fast as it did. So, and they fit great, very comfortable hat. I like this one a lot.
That shocks me because we were talking about this is Tuesday. We were talking about that, and you got it just a few days ago. So, like you said, it's 2 or 3 days.
I think when I got home from work Thursday or Friday, I can't remember. Maybe Friday day, it'll come Friday. So, order it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for 3 days, I guess. I know for sure it was by Friday. I don't know when I ordered it, if it was Monday or Tuesday, but no more than 4 at most. So, I mean,
yeah, you can't beat that at all. And we're going to continue trying to push them out there. They're not like a sponsor or anything, but we love what they're doing, and they were kind enough to message us and share our page on their X account. We're very appreciative of that. Also, I do want to shout out a good friend of mine. It's another local podcast that's starting up called Tyler's Talking Sports. Tyler Hess and Tyler Castle, the two Tylers, will be talking on that show. And I think they have their first episode, I think tomorrow is what they're aiming for. So I just wanted to give them a shout out because they've been real supportive of us. And so you guys check them out whenever they do finally get that episode posted. We're sharing it and stuff on X account. We've already shared what they have put out. So I guess that's it as far as the intro stuff goes. I do want to bring up that we're a little bit late this week on getting one out. Schedules, I mean, just having jobs and responsibilities and stuff like that, things happen. So we ended up not getting it out. I guess Thursday's when we shot for it at first. And then Friday came around, didn't get it. Yesterday we had stuff going on, college football and everything else. So we're finally getting it out today. It is in the middle of NFL Sunday, but your Colts just got done playing, and my Niners don't play till 8 o'clock, so we found a little bit of wiggle room in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah, we had to
Yep.
miss the high school stuff from last week and not get to give our opinions and things on upcoming games for Friday. But like you said, just sometimes it doesn't work out between just whatever reason, working late or events we had scheduled already, or just little things. It's sometimes it doesn't work out like we planned. So we're sorry about that, but we're going to try to do better this next week, and maybe I don't know. Well, there really wasn't no we could do about it. So for me to say we can do better, I don't think we could have really avoided it. So,
No,
but we will do this if we can try to get one in like this, and we have to. We will squeeze one in somewhere on the weekend. But
it's like you said. I mean, we're not getting we're not paid millions by Spotify or anything for this, so we can't quit our job. So we got responsibilities we have to take care of. So this one, I guess, is more of like an instant reaction to what we had yesterday unfold in college football, and then we're also going to talk about the games Friday night. We're not going to talk about the games this coming Friday or Saturday. We're going to try to put that out on our weekly pod this week. We just wanted to kind of get a reaction for this one. And we also have a very special guest that's coming on this week. I don't want to spoil that yet. So we'll have that out maybe Wednesday morning if all goes right. So but I do want to mention before we get into our instant reaction to Friday night and yesterday's games, you had a heck of a weekend as far as concerts and stuff that you went to. Was it Bristol Country Thunder? You attended Friday and Saturday night?
Yeah. I left after I got off work Friday. We went up and got there kind of late, but again, can't avoid that. But it was probably a good thing we got there late because I think it rained and we kind of missed some of the rain while we were driving. So by the time we got there, it kind of eased up and it ended up sprinkling some off and on. And a couple of times it was raining. I wasn't pouring, but it was raining pretty steady at times. But I mean, ponchos were out and stayed dry. So got to see Randy Houser, which was very good. And Brooks and Dunn was that night. So that was a really good show. They, in my opinion, that's the best duo in country music ever.
Be hard to find one better.
Montgomery Gentry is close. Well, as far as I guess song overall, people will say it wasn't close, but my personal preference, I really like Montgomery Gentry up until the tragic thing that happened with them. But Brooks and Dunn is just, I mean, they don't seem to lose us. I mean, I know your voice your voice don't change as you get older, but they still got good energy. They sound great every time you see them. They're amazing.
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm trying to sit here and think of other duos. I know you have Brooks and Dunn, Montgomery Gentry. There's not. I mean,
well, I mean, you got.
Fuck, there's more than what I'm thinking of.
I think
maybe
you
it's
have
just
a lot more nowadays than you did back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a lot of these younger people like the Brothers Osborne, Dan and Shay.
Yeah, that's true.
People like that. There's several.
Georgia line for a minute.
Yeah, there's several I'm not thinking of. I'm sure. Like, I know there's some girls. I think there's a couple girl duos maybe.
Yeah, I think there is some female.
But as far as just I mean, going back and hitting that generation, but also the new, like nowadays people still liking them, and it withstanding the test of time. Like those songs they're still just as good now as they ever were.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
definitely.
they're just everything about them is good.
So you saw Brooks and Dunn Friday night with Randy Houser. Before I ask you about the overall, because I do want to ask you about the setup and what you thought about the concert itself and how everything was ran. Because I know that I've heard people back and forth whether or not they like Country Thunder and all that. I do want to ask you about that, but I do want you to kind of talk about last night's first. So you did see one of our favorite artists, the Chief, last night. So what do you think about that?
Well, beautiful weather yesterday. It was a little chilly, but clear skies and no rain. It was a little windy and stuff, but I mean, good fall weather for Virginia. Put a hoodie on. You're fine. I think Melissa stayed covered up the whole time. She was colder than I was, but
Good football
great.
weather.
Yeah, great fall weather. It's what you want. I mean, it was open day of hunting season, which I didn't get to do that, but as far as that goes, it's just kind of at that right time of the year. We got there in time to see. I'm gonna go back to Friday night. I really hate that I had to miss Jackson Dean Friday night. Like he was, I really wanted to see him, but with work, I couldn't get there to him. And then we missed a few opening up Saturday. But we got there and when Parmalee come on, and then after them, Jelly Roll, which was really
That'd
really
be a good
good.
one.
It was very good. That's the first time I'd ever got to see him, and I was very pleased. I mean, I had high expectations, and he met them. I mean, it was very good. And then obviously Eric Church, and you're never going to go wrong with an Eric Church concert. Like he's the GOAT. So.
Well, we're in. I mean, as far as Eric goes, I know you've seen him how many times now? 6, 7, 8
I
times.
think last night maybe 12.
12. So
11 or 12 maybe.
Did that rank pretty high on your times of seeing him?
No, just because. I mean, you get used to Eric Church's concerts, and I guess it's like some of those years he played like a couple of years we went is when he played for like 3.5, 4 hours by himself. So like you're never going as an Eric Church fan, you're never going to top that stuff. You get to see him play almost all his songs, and but it was very good. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say it was a bad show, but I wouldn't rank it top 5 times I've seen him. I don't think. Which I don't really know how to rank those. Really, I guess I don't. I mean, there's a lot that comes into that, but he did play some older. Hit a good set list. That was a good mix between newer and older stuff. And a couple of songs I don't remember hearing last 2 concerts maybe I went to. So, so he went back with some older stuff last night. That was very cool, I thought. But it's just one of those deals where it's like, for me personally, what Bristol Motor Speedway is for me, that's what makes that such a cool experience, is seeing my favorite ever in one of my favorite places. Like that was really neat, and hearing him talk about how he'd spent many a night and evening there, at races and stuff. So that was kind of cool. But
that is awesome, and that's kind of a good segue into talking about the event as a whole. Because this is your second time going.
Yeah, this is my second time doing it, and they're moving it to June next year.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I think they're wanting to get away from the chance of cold weather and all that stuff. Maybe is why they're doing it. I don't know. Because I think they had there wasn't very many people there Friday night. Granted, it rained, so that probably had a lot to do with it. But so on the ticket sales, maybe, and then the weather in general, I think they're trying to change it up some. So next year it'll be in June, but this year you could bring chairs in, so you could bring your lawn, fold up chairs and sit in the infield. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it does make it a lot. I mean, I don't mind standing, but I mean, if you're there for the whole show, man, it's a long time.
Yeah, and if you're not going to get up really, really close, you'd like to be able to sit down like that. You know what I mean? Like, and just enjoy yourself, and you don't have to stand the whole time. Because another thing I don't like about it, me and Melissa talked about this. For some reason, in between sets, there was an hour. Like usually, there's not that big a time between people. Yeah, but if one would get done at 8, for example, the other one didn't come on the 9. So that's a long time to be there and not be able to, sit down. So luckily we get to do the chairs. But I don't know why they do that. That be a gap between people. But
and I don't know if that's something that is like I've not been to enough of those festivals or whatever they're called
Well,
to where that I don't know if that's something normal. I
no,
mean, I
we've
wouldn't
been to
think it would
several,
be.
and very rarely do you, I've never known of a time where there's an hour between people. I've never heard of that before. But
Yeah.
before I forget, I do want to give a big shout out to Jelly Roll. He's seen the Abington, I guess it's their high school softball team, they were walking around selling pizzas to raise money, and they had a sign that they had made Abington softball, but they had it lit up with lights around the side of it. And he's seen it during the concert and actually mentioned them, and then told him he'd
That's
fund
awesome.
them to do whatever he needed. And then we found a picture today of them with pictures with him, and he's like paying for some kind of big trip for them during
Wow.
I don't know, during the summer, some kind of training thing. I don't know, but shout out to him for doing that. That was kind of cool.
That's awesome. And that's a cool bit of information too, because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, he even
to
said
see
during his
that, yeah,
set, he pointed out the
yeah,
sign and said, he read it and was like, we're taking care of it. And he told one of his guys, make sure we get up with them before, don't let them leave here without,
yeah.
and then took pictures with them. I seen, and like, so he actually did it. Like he's paying for something. So shout out to him. That was cool.
And that's something we were talking about coming back from the John Party concert is his popularity right now. I mean, it's among the top. I mean, around the top 5. I mean, we had a little debate about that on the way home, but um, stuff like that is what adds to who he is. I mean, the music's great anyway, but just hearing things like that stuff. I mean, you had to be a good dude. I mean, you
Well,
could easily just blow it off and not and act like it's just whatever, and go about your business. You made your money, you're gone. But for him to do that, that's awesome. I think that's cool.
everybody has a story, but his story is so unique in how, like, maybe unique's a bad word, but he's just so, you can tell he's so genuine when he says some of the things he says because of where he's come from. And
Yeah,
like the bad, and it's not like he's hiding from it. Like he admits, the mistakes he's made and stuff, but to come from where he was and, and younger and going to jail and stuff and coming back out of that, and um it's just his story and what he wants to do to help people. Like he like genuineness like oozes out of him, like more
yeah.
than some people. You just can't help but to believe what he says. Like, and he's talking to people on stage, and like him talking, that one woman had a sign of one of his songs that is about addiction and stuff, and him talking about shouting out to everybody right now, hoping you hear this, and if you're fighting any kind of addiction and stuff like that. Like he's very open about having those issues, and not caring, not trying to hide them from it. So it's just he's so, I don't know. That's one thing I like about him. I just feel like he's very genuine and very he means that when he says that stuff, and it's not just to get likes, I think.
Well, I mean, it makes him, it humanizes him in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Makes him relatable because we all are going through something. I mean, whether it's an addiction to something as simple as caffeine. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds funny, but everybody's got something they're hanging on to, and maybe something they want to work on.
Yeah.
And I know in his case it was a little bit more extreme, but there's plenty of people out there going through the same thing. So I think that is awesome that he's able to connect with them, and you see it with how successful he is. You can see that it's kind of, you see the results,
Yeah.
and I think that anybody that has like that authenticity to them, that's what kind of drives him home for a lot of country music fans. Anyway, I can't speak on some of the other genres,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like we kept up with country music enough that when you have somebody out there, and I'm not trying to throw Kane Brown under the bus as far as if we got any Kane Brown fans out there, but uh, I don't know a whole lot about him. But I know that we went and saw him years ago, and we got there, we just didn't feel like he was all that great. Chelsea was a huge fan of him until we went and saw him, and I'm not saying he's a fake person. I feel like he's probably still a good dude, but we felt a little bit of uh, flaws in like the music part. It didn't sound quite as what it did on the album. And even though, I know that's music and that's not somebody's life, but even just seeing that little bit of, I don't want to say fake, but just seeing that a little bit of a weakness in his performance, it turned us away from him completely, or turned her away from him completely. And I think that's just country music fans. Like if you start to get a touch of something that's not real, or something that they might be using auto tune, or they might be using like, are you lip singing a little bit, or anything like that. Like in country music, more so I think than maybe any other genre, it'll throw you out of the game quick. Because we just, I feel like you're saying, we appreciate authenticity, and you hear somebody's story, and then and just to hear his music, and from what I think you told me earlier, he was great live. I mean, his
Oh
voice and
yeah,
stuff. I feel
yeah,
like that
great.
if you listen to him on an album, on a CD, it's the same thing as if you went and saw him. I mean, those words mean something, and how he sounds is pretty accurate to how he
Yeah,
is on the album.
yeah, and people can look at him and judge him. You know how people are.
Yeah,
Some people are going to do that. They're going to find a flaw to judge anybody, no matter if it's an outward appearance or if it's a past mistake. It's just how people are. But um, you can't. I mean, that's the only thing. I don't know how anybody could really, really sit down and hear his story and not genuinely be happy for him and what he's done and turn it around and stuff. But talk about like country music. Being authentic and being genuine and being who you are might not sell you the most records, but it's going to build you the most loyal and crazy like fan base. And like the ones
yeah,
who are the most that like who are themselves and don't stray away from that, and they may not all be like crazy successful on like charts or number ones, but their fan bases are some of the most like fanatic, loyal, follow no matter what fan bases. So
yeah,
I mean, and I feel like that's what he exudes. I feel like that's the one thing with Eric Church is no matter whether it's different types of music or styles, he is who he is, and no matter what. And not just them. There's a lot of people like that, but that's who we're talking about now. But you
yeah.
want to talk about the setup for that place? I mean, I don't know how they could set it up any differently than they do. Um, you have the stage on one end of the infield, you know,
Yeah.
then you have seats in the middle and vendors all around it. I don't know. There's not a lot of options there really I mean, and do it any different. So I don't know why people would complain about the way it's set up, but
Do they have? I know that seeing videos from you and pictures from people that went to like the Myrtle Beach one. I forgot what it's called, but uh,
Carolina
they
country
have like,
music
yeah, Carolina Country Music Festival.
fest,
So
yeah.
they had like, it looked like they had screens ever so often
Mm-hmm.
going back through the crowd. Does Country Thunder have that to where ever so often there's like some screens to where if you're in the main back, you can at least see a screen
Well, no, they just
in
have
the
the
front?
two side screens on the main stage, and then they have the big thing that's over top all the time, like in the race, the big
Yeah,
screen.
yeah,
They have
okay,
that, so you can look up and see. But there's really not, honestly, they're no bigger than that. That's not a big infield, so there's really not anywhere to put any more screens, really. I mean,
yeah,
you can see those screens from the back. There's not a reason to put any more. When you're at the see them, the one in Myrtle Beach, that's such a long area. You have to put you, it's like you could fit the area of Bristol into that 3 times. Like you can put 3 of those into that.
it's
That's how
wild.
far
Yeah,
back it probably is, like as far as the length of it. So, I mean, you don't have. Bristol looks huge because of the track, but if you just take into account the area they're working with from the inside the track, infield to infield, that's really not that big of an area. I mean, not
yeah,
lengthwise. I mean, it's not huge. It's not small area, but obviously, but it's not like a big, huge uh field or something. You know what I mean? It just looks
yeah.
bigger, I think, because it's in the stadium and all that empty space around it. But they can't use any more space than that because the track's there. So I don't know.
Um, yeah. I mean, I've not been to it yet. Maybe next year. We had talked about going this past weekend. Things just didn't work out. Uh, Before we close out, talking about this, I do kind of want to ask you maybe at least two headliners. Who do you want to see next year? at Country Thunder?
I mean, if I'm going to have my pick, I'd say Eric Trusky.
Yeah. Well, I
No, I
guess let's
mean,
just yeah.
somebody I've never seen before would be nice. You know what I mean? Like, so
That's not a lot of people you've seen
it's not. I guess if you
quite a
want to go
bit.
like just headliners, I mean, I don't know. There's so many. Like, if you're just going to ask me,
Yeah.
I'll pick my favorite people. But
I'm trying to think of maybe I'm not like since Eric was there. I mean, I'd love to see Eric there again.
yeah, I
But
mean, he's not.
since Eric
He's
was there this past
not coming
weekend,
back.
trying to think a little bit outside the box as far as the ones that have already came through.
Yeah, I mean, you had Jason Aldean last year, I guess, or the year before, whenever it was, and
Yeah, and Morgan Wallen.
Morgan Wallen. I mean, as far as headlining, I don't think Hardy's actually headlined it yet. So maybe
No,
you
I
could get
thought about
Hardy
that
as a
too.
headliner,
Yeah.
and maybe Laney be the other headliner. But you'd like to
I
get
was
them the
thinking,
same night, though. So I mean,
yeah,
that way they could sing together. So that'd be cool. But maybe like
I was thinking
I
Luke
don't know,
Combs.
say Luke Combs would be a good one. I don't think he's been there yet.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one because he's got yeah, he'd be a good one for that place. Get him and maybe put I personally, if you go like two males headlining and then have Laney with Hardy, I would love to see Ashley McBride headline. I'll be the other one for
That would
not
be a
Luke because
great
I
one.
like her a lot.
Actually, she's all.
Yeah. You can't. I mean, there's several of them obviously you can't go wrong with. I mean, but that would be a good one having Hardy and Luke comes up being the headlines and having Laney with Hardy, and then having Ashley McBride or somebody like that
Actually,
with which on Saturday they have, you have several other smaller people, but those will be the four to start building from. That'd be a cool concert.
yeah. Heck yeah. Well, you heard it here first, Bristol, to sign us up. We can
Maybe
make some
throw
things happen. We can,
I
yeah.
ain't seen Justin Moore in a while. It's been a while since I've seen him actually, so I'd like to see him.
Justin Moore would be a good one. I
It's
mean,
been several years since I've actually got to see him, so
yeah, I've
I
never
wouldn't be
seen him. I
upset
think
with
he would
that.
be a good one to throw on there as a. I don't want to say a smaller one because he's been a while. He's been there for a while. He's had music out and stuff like that. He's not new, but I
Yeah,
mean, he's not as big as Hardy or Luke Combs
right.
is right now. We'll go ahead. So our goal with this pod, because where we were a few days late, we want to talk about the games Friday night. Give a quick run through, kind of like we have done sometimes when we have our pods on Friday night. We'll do a quick run through on it. Talk about some players, some scores, stuff like that, and then yesterday we had games. We had actually sent our picks through the phone because we didn't have the pod. Um, I think that I did worse on them because
Do
I
you
tried
really?
to pick a few upsets. I know we were. I think we were tied. I've not looked at our record now. I'm
Going
not
off my
really
memory
totaled it
from
up.
what you told me, I would have thought I would have done worse.
I don't. We'll go through it and see. I think it's close, but we're going to go over those games, talk about them a little bit. We had some pretty decent upsets yesterday, uh, so we'll hit on those, and then we'll get out of here. Niners play tonight, so I don't know if you want to watch that one, but it'd be a good one. I think it's game of the year. Well, so far in the year,
So
it's the
far,
best
yeah.
game. Yeah. So we'll go into it here. If you want to, I think you have the scores down, so I'll let you run through them, and we'll hit on a few of them.
We're going to high school, is that what we said?
Yeah, we'll go high
Okay.
school first, like we
Uh,
normally do, and then head off into
Hurley,
college.
Hurley, and Zach Deal get as interim head coach gets his first win, 50-23 over Thomas Walker. Roy
Big
Treat
one for
beats
him.
Lebanon, 34-14. Brykove is a closer one than what we anticipated with East Side wins 48-36. This game was
That
tied 16 at the half, and they both put up
yeah,
some points in the second.
that's what I was going to say. I just want to say on that one, I was looking up some stuff. Courtesy of the Bristol paper, they had 84 points combined. They had 35 first downs, 776 yards of total offense. And downside, they had 6 turnovers and 16 penalties between them. But I did not expect that one to be that close. And there's nothing against East Side. I just, we talked about it the other night. We look at these scores. between teams like Eastside and Hurley, and we think, okay, well, they play close, and now Ryco's probably going to walk in there and just blow them out of the water. And I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I try to look at who's playing and try to use that as a measuring stick, I guess. But kudos to Eastside for keeping it that close. I mean, I know it ended up being a 12-point game, but from everything I've seen, it seemed to be a great one. I think one of your favorite players is Southwest Virginia right now. The quarterback for Ryco,
Big
Lane.
fan.
Yeah, he rushed for 170 yards and 3 touchdowns. He passed for 60 yards in a score though, but still, yet I mean, to me, I just didn't want us to run by that without mentioning the offense that was on display for both teams and that high score. I mean, that looks like LSU and Ole Miss last week.
Ryko 6 of 6 on 2-point conversions. Also, that was could have been a big factor. If,
Yeah.
Let's see. Twin Springs beats Castlewood 52-12. They're on a good run right now. That's going to be a team to watch going down the stretch to see where they end up in the playoffs, who they got, as far as we match up against. I don't think they can long term do a lot with Honeckers and Patrick Henrys and Rykovs, but you never know. You have an experienced group there, so you never know week to week what's going to happen. So to get in the playoffs, they could be a problem for some people.
Yeah, you're talking about Twin Springs. I mentioned it to you earlier. According to the Bristol paper, they had, from what I'm reading here, Dingus, Kilgore, Gilmer, and Wyatt. They're a bunch of guys that they'd all grew up together since kindergarten, and that's pretty much the core of that team. They're the ones putting most of the points on the board, moving the ball down the field, and I'm sure they're the leaders on defense as well. So I just want to kind of give them a shout out. And I've not got watching them play this year, but from everything that I see, they've been impressing a lot of people, and it seems like it's from that core of kids that stuck together from kindergarten all the way up through now they're in high school playing together.
Grundy gets back and win column 49-28 against Twin Valley. I think that was Twin Valley senior night. I don't think they have another home game the rest of the year.
That's wild too, because we're halfway through the year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Now,
I remember looking at it when it came out and like it being very much home game heavy early on, which I'm not sure how it all worked out, but yeah, I think they're on the road the rest of the year, maybe.
Well, that's a good win for Grundy. I mean, I know Twin Valley isn't. We know what they came from last year and where they're still trying to get to. It was a BED win, but I do want to shout out for Twin Valley. We did see Nathaniel Deal get 2 scores for him. I think I can't remember his first. Is it JJ Justice? I know Justice. He was their starting tailback. I think he's out now, so they got a few other guys stepping up. But I do want to throw out there Braden White, who I helped coach in Little League. Great kid, come from a great family. He got into the end zone as well.
He looks the same as he did when you coached him.
Yeah, I'm sure he's even quicker though. I mean, he was quick back in the day and shifty. I
can't get over how small some of them are.
Yeah, it's
so crazy how young they are.
Of it. I know they end up losing, 49-28, but to see them put up 28, I think there's things to grow on there. And it's still a long ways from where they want to be, but still positive things.
Tazewell beat Virginia High 54-24. You mentioned Virginia High's quarterback maybe was out in that game.
Yeah. I think he was out. I was the week before that he got hurt. I didn't see to the extent of the injury. I actually had it wrote down, but yeah, I think he had actually played good in the game before that.
Yeah. Either way, another big win for Tazewell. They're put up 54 points. I'm sure that quarterback probably threw for 300 or 400 yards. We couldn't find stats on it, but big win for them. I'd like to know their remaining schedule. We'll talk about that this week coming up. We're getting to the part of the year here where there's only 3 or 4 weeks left. Maybe 4 weeks left after this week.
Yeah, I think so. Because I
where
think
a
we're
lot
on.
of playoff
Let's see here.
implications can, matchups and stuff can be up for grabs here in the next little bit. So we got to start looking ahead at some of these team schedules and really dive a little deeper into that. But
To what you're
and
saying too, I noticed in the research I'd done, a lot of the articles and stuff that are out that were previewing the games, they start mentioning points a lot now.
mm-hmm.
Starting to get playoff time, and they're starting to bring up these points and where people are going to fall as far as seeding goes, or if they're even going to make it in. So that's something that I know we're going to try to probably dive into a little more coming on maybe this week and forward.
The game of the week, Union and Ridgeview, and this was I predicted 2 touchdowns. I was one off. Union beat Ridgeview 20-14. I really wish I could have went to this one. Glad I'm not saying
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad I went to the Country Thunder, but that was fun. But this would have been one I would have liked to have been at. I know at one point it was 20-7 Union, and I guess Ridgeview scored. I'm not sure how late in the game that last touchdown was scored.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how it ended, but that's a good game for Ridgeview, honestly, to keep it that close. I didn't think they would be able to keep it that close. So moving forward, I know there's no moral victories, but if you are looking for one, take away that you went to that stadium and only lost by 6 is it's a pretty good weekend, really. I mean, moving forward.
Well, like you said, Ridgeview needed that, and we talked about it on the last pod. We weren't trying to discredit what they've done throughout the year, and they got to play the teams that's on their schedule, but they just hadn't played anybody. I think besides Virginia High
Mm-hmm.
that we considered to be on par with them to really test them. And with it being so close, I think that was probably to Union's advantage because they had played some tough teams,
Yeah, I'm
so they'd
sure.
been there. And like you said, though, I mean, it's good for Ridgeview to have that now going into the playoffs and to have a taste of that.
Yeah. I think we'll find out a lot more about Ridgeview coming up because I think they get into their district schedule maybe a little more than they have already. Have Gate City left, and
Yeah,
who else would they have left in that one? I
I'd
don't
have
know who's
to
left
go
for
and look
sure.
at
It
it,
may not
but
be as tough as what I'm thinking, but I'm pretty sure they still have Gate City coming up at some point.
I do know that we hadn't mentioned him at all. I don't think on the pod, and it's mostly because they've killed people every week. But their quarterback Ryan O'Quinn, he's one of the better quarterbacks in this area. And I think he even had a solid game. I think last week. I don't know the exact stats, but I remember following people on X or Twitter or whatever, and his name got brought up a lot during the game Friday night.
Yeah. Yeah, he was one of the few returning players from that team they had last year that was pretty good. I think they graduated a lot, and he
Yeah,
was one of the
yeah,
few that come back. But then I'm just gonna throw this one out there. I didn't even realize they had played, but Emory and Henry beat UVOI's 41-24 Saturday.
yeah.
A
As the
lot
what is
of
called
bad
the
blood
South.
locally amongst people around here that went to one of the other schools. So throw that score out there.
What's that called? The Southwest Virginia Bowl
I
or
think
something
so.
like
Yeah,
that. I think.
I know it's a college game, but it's one of the a
Oh,
lot of
that's
local
definitely
high
needs to be
school
mentioned.
players around here have
Yeah,
went to both of them and are still at them playing it now.
yeah.
So and a lot of coaches coaching around the local areas have went to those two schools. So I wanted to bring it up with the high school stuff.
Definitely. Do you have any more that you're going to run through, or is
No,
that
that's it. We
it?
had Honecker was open this week.
Yeah.
I don't
Gate
know. I
City was
never
on
seen a
by.
Graham. Gate City was open. I think I never seen a Graham score. I don't know if they were open or not.
I think they were as well. I think there's a
Okay,
few
so
teams. I did want to throw out, and I know that we don't mention them a whole lot, but uh, given the fact that I know they follow us on X, and I work down there, Abingdon, they beat Marion this past week,
yeah,
42-13. Their quarterback Luke Honecker, he was 6-9, 87 yards, a touchdown. They had 34 yards rushing and 34 yards rushing and 2 rushing touchdowns. And they had 7 different players carry the ball, according to the Bristol paper. So they've been kind of spread out, good balanced offense, and they've won 4 of their last 5 games after that loss to John Battle, which I think we all considered now in hindsight, looking at it, a pretty big upset. Because
Mm-hmm.
John Battle, I think I didn't see who they had. I don't remember who they had played, but I think they won this past week, and I think that's the first win they've had since the Abingdon win.
Yeah.
Maybe they're either 2-3 or 3-3, whatever it is. So just give a shout out to Abingdon there. Good win over Marion. Yeah, I think that I know we're not going to touch on it too much as far as what we got coming up this next week because we still have our episode this week to talk about that. But something I did want to mention, and I've been thinking about it the past few days, honestly. We're in I want to say it's a weird time because we've had it before. It's been like this before, but I feel like people are not talking about the quarterback play in this area enough. And I didn't go as far as when I had this idea, when I thought about this, I wanted to actually go and write down all the stats and stuff, and maybe I'll get to that next time. But I do want to mention to people that are going to these games and stuff, watch some of this quarterback play because it's not very often you see some of these guys come through here like Ryan O'Quinn and Lane from Rye Cove that you had mentioned, Peyton Music tearing it up. I think we talk about, that's the air raid offense, or that's that offense. There's that offense, but
quarterback from Tazewell and Lebanon to throw in there
Reese,
also. Yeah.
Yep, and Reese, I think it's Reese from Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like the quarterback play in this area right now has really it's stepped it up a lot, and a lot of times I know that it's just by chance that we have some come through like this because you might have a few years to where you don't have high quarterback play. But that's my point, though. I think this is a time where people really need to appreciate what we got around here. And I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day about music, and they kind of they weren't downgrading it by no means, but they were just talking about the offense. They're like, that offense, he's going to get this many yards, do this, do that. I think, though, that I don't want to sell him short. What he's doing and what some of these other quarterbacks are doing at the high school level is very impressive. And now you see crazy quarterback play maybe towards down in Texas and some of these other states. I mean, you see all this high-level quarterback play. But for Southwest Virginia, I feel like that we have seen it here and there. But I think in recent memory, this is the most high-quality quarterbacks in this area that I can remember. Because a lot of times we have, well, at least in single A, and I know we're kind of balanced with single A and double A, but in single A, we have a lot of run first teams that you see a bunch of great backs, great skill position players when it comes like receiver and backs. And we still have that, but I feel like the quarterback play overall, it's something that I don't remember this many good quarterbacks in this area at one time.
Well, it
Maybe
kind
you
of
can
goes hand in
correct me if I'm
hand.
wrong. Maybe I haven't been paying attention, but
you have to have good receivers to have good quarterbacks. You have to have good quarterbacks to have good receivers. You know what I mean? You can't have stud receivers but not have somebody throw it to them. You also can't have really talented quarterbacks with them nobody to throw it to them or nobody to throw to. And you have to have somewhat good of a line. It doesn't matter, especially in high school around here. You can't just. You have to have at least a few seconds. It's not like you're not looking at college and pro level stuff here. Like a lot of times you don't have very much time in high school because teams will just send 5, 6, 7 people every time, no matter what. I mean, it's so you have to have it all together. But at the same time, there is, I think, the talent level the skill level of quarterbacks. I don't remember it being that many good ones at one time like it is right now. You'd have a few standouts here and there, but I think you're right. I think you're onto something there that I don't remember it being like this as far as that many at one time. I do think systems help, obviously, and that's not just Honecker. It's Tazewell lines it up, throws it a lot. So you're going to have more numbers. But if you have a quarterback, you do that.
you play your strengths.
Yeah, you look at Honecker, they have athletes everywhere. So it's not music's fault that he has athletes to throw to, but it don't make him any less of a quarterback because he's got really good players to throw to. Just That's just how it is. You know, I mean, but you have to throw the ball where it needs to go. So
Yeah,
whether it's
and he's
throwing to
doing a great job of that.
whether it's throwing to athletes
Yeah,
or throwing to people who just
mhm.
aren't as athletic, but just I think there's a big difference in receivers that can run a route, catch it, and then receivers that run routes, catch it, and then make plays happen. I think the thing at Honeck you have right now is they don't just have guys that can go down, run it out, catch it, and go down. They have guys that once they catch it, they're just as dangerous after they catch it than they are before they catch it. That's a lot of their stuff right now
Definitely.
too, which you know, good for him. I mean, you can't take anything away from the quarterback because you have that people around him. So yeah, but yeah, I think
No,
you're right. I think there's a lot of good quarterbacks right now.
yeah, and I maybe coming this week, I'll try to do a little bit more research because I do want to maybe highlight that even more and put it out there with some stats because I know that the Tassel quarterback Creasy, uh, the quarterback from Rycove Lane, Peyton Music, which I know we've shouted out. We've talked about music stats at least on the pod with Coach Wicks. But I want some of those stats this week because I feel like we got something here in Southwest Virginia right now, something that we can be proud of, and it's a lot of good quarterback play.
Mm-hmm. Then
Um,
you got on the flip side, then you got
yeah.
Union, who is,
Oh yeah.
I mean, kind of more old school type of running game defense, but they're throwing a little more than what you're used to seeing them. But that's not taking anything away from them either. I mean, you can still win that way, and they have
Yeah.
just as many athletes. They don't have the passing game that other ones do. So it's not like I don't think one's necessarily better than the other one. It's just how it is right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think that might close us out, just on what we're going to talk about this week with the high school football. Um, Again, I do want to say that we're thankful for some of the local schools shouting us out and sharing some of our content. We've had a little bit more of that this past little bit. And we're going to try to, coming up this week, dive into that even more. Like I said, we missed a few days here this past week because we usually do a full game of the week preview, player of the week, rankings, and all that. So we'll definitely get back on the ball this week. And then as far as local sports go, like I said, we got a special guest coming on Tuesday that everybody wants to see.
I'm very excited about this episode, and I think it's going to be a very good one.
Yeah,
it's hard for me
definitely.
not to say it on here because I want people to be ready for it, but I think it's going to be a really good one. We both
Build
have a
up the
tremendous amount of
suspense.
respect for this person, and it's just I'm looking forward to it.
No, I agree completely, and I think a lot of people do have a lot of respect for him in our area.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great human being, great coach. That gives you a little bit of a sprinkle of what it might be. But anyway, we're gonna go into the college segment of this. Like I said, we didn't get a chance to make our picks on air, but uh, we'll go through each game and I'll bring up who we did pick. So we did send it to each other beforehand. We could have been real cheap about this and just gave our picks after the games were over with to make us look a little better. That didn't happen. So first game I want to talk about was LSU versus Missouri. LSU was ranked 23rd. Missouri was ranked 21st. They were at home. Shootout again for LSU. It seems like every week that they're in a game like this. It was 49-39. LSU winning. They ended up scoring 22 points in the fourth quarter. Jaden Daniels again had a heck of a game. 15-21 passing, 259 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he also did it on the ground with 130 yards rushing and a touchdown. Malik Neighbors continues to be one of the best receivers in the country. He had 6 catches, 146 yards and a touchdown. And that's not to overlook what Missouri did on offense, like what they've been doing the whole year. They've also been putting up points. Their quarterback, Brady Cook, had almost 400 yards passing. And so far, maybe it's debatable, but maybe one of the best receivers, if not the best, in the SEC is Luther Burden III. He had 11 catches, about 150 yards. He didn't score, but he still made a huge impact on the game. So, like I mentioned, LSU's in this game, in this type of game almost every week. Their defense has not showed up. I don't know if they showed up any as far as week to week. I don't remember a dominant defense performance from them at all. But their offense, man, their offense is great right now. One thing about it is if you go into that game, unless you have a dominant defense that can slow them down, which I think Florida State had that particular week, which was week one, did have an impressive defensive showing. But you're going to have a defense to slow them down. That or you're going to have to try to win in a shootout.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the defense. I thought they were going to be much better than that this coming into the year,
Yeah,
but
me too.
I guess sometimes that happens. I don't know if they're not getting what they expected from certain positions or what, but there's got to be some NFL guys on that defense though that are going to get drafted. But it seems like they're not, as a team, they're not stopping much of anybody right now.
No, I mean, we talked about it before the season started. Perkins on their defense, one of the linebackers. Many people, so-called experts, that we watch, had him as being maybe the best player in the country. Period. And the games I've seen, he's all right. I mean, he's been playing decent, but um, I don't know. Nobody on that
Yeah,
defense is really showing
very,
up to me.
very surprising.
You know, and then for those, just for transparency, we both had LSU winning that game. So I do want to throw that out just so our viewers can keep us accountable here. So that's who we had winning, and we got that one right. So I don't know what we got looking forward as far as for LSU and for Missouri. We'll probably cover that maybe on the next episode if they play somebody good this coming weekend. But LSU somewhat staying in the picture in the SEC. So next game that we had, which was the undefeated Maryland squad, they were going to the shoe to play Ohio State, fourth ranked. And they were also undefeated. This game, I think, went under the radar a little bit. Maryland, a lot of people thought they could have been ranked, maybe where LSU was, but the name got LSU in there. Nevertheless, Maryland kept it close for a minute. I don't know if you ended up watching any of that Saturday or not, but I kind of followed along for a minute, and then, of course, the star power with Ohio State ended up just coming through. McCord ended up having a decent game. He had 320 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. So again, mistake free, no interceptions, and that's what they're going to have to do is have him not hurt them. And I think he's even playing, I would say, above average right now. I think 300 yards. I think that he's starting to find his groove a little bit, and so we'll see where he ends up at. Of
I'm not
course, best receiver.
I'm not
Go
sold
ahead.
on them.
No, we
I
talked
don't
about
know.
it the other day.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I know they have that receiver group.
Yeah,
But all around as a team, top. I think the new
yeah,
AP poll had them at 3. I'm not sold on them being the third or fourth best team in the country. But
yeah.
you keep winning, I guess. No matter who you're playing, they'll keep you up there. So we'll find
You're
out.
gonna,
It'll work itself out in that Big Ten.
I think that Maryland's offense is pretty good, so I think that kept them in it for a minute. Um, I think Ohio State's defense is good. I think they're up there, but I'm like you. McCord is just it's the most important position on the field, so it's going to make us feel a little bit antsy of, are they top 3, top 4? I still had them up there, per rankings from last week.
Well,
But
I've said from day one, I'm biased, so you can't pay any attention to anything I say about Ohio State as far as it being like an unbiased take because I
yeah,
hate them. So
well, cool thing about it
nobody
being on
needs
a
to
pod,
really put a lot of stock into my opinion.
yeah, well, cool thing about being on a podcast where we run it is that we can be
We can
biased
say
if
what
we
we want.
want.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, Marvin Harrison Jr., another great game. 8 catches, 163 yards, and a touchdown. I think that I seen a thing the other day talking about him that he hadn't lived up to the hype or whatever, but I mean, you probably get double, triple teamed
Yeah.
every week. I think he's playing great. You still can't, when you go into game plan for Ohio State, you have to have him on the top of your board.
Yeah.
The guys you got to
As a
watch.
receiver, there's only so much you can do if they're, double teaming you or moving coverages over, you can't, unless you just throw up jump balls consistently to him. But they don't have to do that, so
Yeah,
they're not going to do that. So, I mean, he would probably win half of those if they did that, but they don't have to do it,
yeah.
so they're not going to force things. So to say he's not lived up to the hype, he's just as good as he ever was. He's just not getting the catches. It's probably nothing to do with him whatsoever. It's the game plan and things like that, I would imagine.
Well, the bar is set so high that people want to see him go off for 200 or 300 yards every game.
Yeah.
That just happens when you have an amazing year like you had last year, and then going into this one, people set that bar sometimes too high, unrealistic expectations, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's still playing great. He's still going to be a top, probably 3 pick. So depending on who's up there, probably the game of the week this past week was the Red River Showdown.
Shootout.
Of course, I missed.
I think.
Yeah,
Is it shootout or is it showdown?
I don't know. I've seen Showdown.
I thought it was shootout.
Whatever it is. Huge game. 12th ranked Oklahoma playing against 3rd ranked Texas Longhorns. I picked Oklahoma going into this. You picked Texas. I had said a few episodes ago, I think that Oklahoma was one of the best kept secrets, which is funny to say because Oklahoma is such a huge brand, but people just overlooked them, I think. I think that if they play again, I know we talked about this in our group chat outside of here. I don't know if it'll be the same, but on this particular day, Oklahoma had an amazing game from Dylan Gabriel. He threw for 285, had a touchdown, and he rushed for 113, had a touchdown. He led that game-winning drive at the end like it was nothing, ice in his veins. And so I was very impressed with Oklahoma. A little bit of my research going into it, which I didn't get to talk about last week. They were, I think, first in the country, right up there near the top with interceptions. And I think their defense ended up having a pretty good game on Ewers. Ended up having two picks against Oklahoma's defense. So now I do think, even amidst this loss, I saw something in Texas that I really liked. I saw that Brooks, who had been having great games anyway, rushing the ball, I saw through adversity that he is still that guy. Like, even with a good defense like Oklahoma and Venables, who's a great defensive coach, he still put up numbers. He had almost 130 yards, a touchdown. And I think that's going to be huge for them going forward because if you have that as a weapon, I know he's not Bijan Robinson like they had last year, but to have that as a weapon and take that pressure off of Quinn, that's going to be good for them going forward, and their defense, I think, is going to get better. So I think you're going to see a rematch between these two teams in the Big 12 championship. So, something I do want to point out, and I didn't know this was a thing, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say this. I have never seen the Pat McAfee field pass.
Really?
Yeah, that was the first. I've watched his pre-show and all that stuff. I've never seen the broadcast where he's on the field talking during the game, kind of like how the Manning brothers do on Monday nights. But that's how I watched the game yesterday.
Yeah, I love it. I can't believe you didn't know that was happening.
No, it was amazing, man. He's out there with Matthew McConaughey, Trey Young.
Yeah, McConaughey's been on there. He was in there at the Bama game too. Come down with him on the sideline.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that was one of the deep balls that Texas hit. Was right in front of him. McConaughey
Well, they
and
had
Pat and what's his name, AJ, and all them.
Yeah, they had a stop on a 3rd or 4th down, I think. And it's funny, you see Matthew McConaughey doing like, let's do the triceps, do the triceps or something like that, or forearm, whatever it was. I don't guess that's some special thing that they do, but it cracked me up. But yeah, your thoughts on the game. I know that you had Texas, and I still think Texas can make the Final Four. I'm just going to throw that out there. But I do know that you had them in your Final Four.
I hate people were saying that we overlooked Oklahoma. I didn't overlook Oklahoma. I knew Oklahoma was
Not
good.
saying you did,
but
but I think overall.
even if I still thought Texas was better. I compared it to and looked at it. I didn't overlook them. I knew they were the good, but I still think Texas is a better team. I think that first quarter killed Texas with the 2 interceptions and a fumble, and I just couldn't. I mean, they did make it back get back and tie. I think a clean game. They're better than Oklahoma, but Oklahoma played better that day. I mean, it happens a lot in college football. So, yeah, Texas is not out of it. They'll need some help, but they have an uphill battle now to get to the final into the 4. So, not looking good for them making it in. And like I said, even though I do think Texas is better than Oklahoma, it doesn't matter who's better all the time. It matters who is better that day. And Oklahoma definitely was better yesterday. So,
yeah, and especially in a game like that where you got two teams that I think they had first played this series between each other in the year 1900. So they had been a 100. I can't remember how many
it's like
meetings it had been.
119 years or something. They've been playing this
Yeah,
series or
I was thinking
something crazy.
118, 119.
118.
So it's a huge game, and a great game to cap off their Big 12 era because they're both going to be in the SEC next year, and and they might, like I said, they'll probably play again in the Big 12 championship. But as far as for the the Red River showdown, gosh, um, you know that was a great way to cap that off. And I think going forward, that's huge for recruiting, being in the SEC and two newcomers. And that whole area, they battle for recruits anyway. So to have that game go down like that to show the people that support Oklahoma that, hey, we're here, we're still here. Like last year, it was a 49-0 beatdown. Texas were killing them, and Oklahoma had their first losing season in I can't remember, like 20 some years, or if not longer. So it threw them back in the picture again, and that was huge for them, I'm sure, with recruiting and stuff. Uh, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but I had picked them, and you had Texas on that one. So just transparency for our picks. Our next one, we both had UNC in this one, but it was 14th ranked UNC Tar Heels. They were hosting Syracuse. Sorry. And UNC, I think, really showed out. Drake May had 442 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. That's the Drake May that we have been waiting to see all year. That's the Drake May that Logan Cantrell has told us about. So shout out to him. They did end up getting Tez Walker cleared to play. I looked at the stats. I didn't see that he was on the field much there yesterday, but he's a top receiver, one of the top receivers in the ACC that transferred in. That he had got denied as far as him playing and stuff, but then he won the appeal, and that's a whole other ordeal. But so they'll have him going forward. I think he's like a 6'3", 220, 230-pound receiver, big dude, and he'll be a big weapon for Drake May going forward. I don't want to spend too much time on this game because 40-7, UNC blew them out. There's not much to talk about other than the fact that it's good to see Drake May get out there and show the talent that he has.
Carolina is sneakily and quietly
Quiet,
staying under the radar. And I don't know what would have to happen as far as playoff stuff. I guess they would have to beat Florida State in the ACC championship game.
got
But I
Louisville
think
up there now too.
I think they play regular season though, don't they? North Carolina and Florida State.
Possibly, I haven't looked at the
So
schedules
I
to see
mean,
going forward.
they're quietly doing their thing, but some of those games coming up, people are going to start. They're going to be sprung, like thrust into the national conversation if in a couple of weeks if they keep winning, and then Logan will have his Heisman candidate back in the conversation if they keep winning some of those games. But they're sneaky good and just getting better with that guy coming back. So they're the team to keep an eye on moving forward.
Defense looking a lot better too
Mm-hmm.
than last year. Not that they were terrible last year, but when you have that much firepower on offense, you got to have something on defense to be a complete team. We see it with LSU right now. They got the offense, but they don't have the defense.
They're, like I said, you don't hear much about them, but they're doing their thing. So, we'll see.
Another big one that at least for off the West Coast, that I think was kind of a quiet game. I mean, it was on the Pac-12 network, so I don't think a lot of people really talked about it. But it was the 13th ranked Washington State team that had been undefeated going into this game playing against UCLA. UCLA had them at home, and they were the betting favorite. They ended up pulling this one off, 25-17. The quarterback freshman that he's been balling out, he had 290 yards passing, but now he did have 2 interceptions. Compared with the one touchdown he had. They ended up winning this game. I think it was kind of close towards the end. I think that UCLA's defense actually had played very well against Ward. I think it's Cam Ward, maybe quarterback for Washington State, who a lot of people had in their top 5 quarterbacks going on in this into this past weekend. So they forced him into a pretty rough game. I think they ended up having a fumble or pick six or something returned for a touchdown. Washington State did. That got them back into it, but for the most part, UCLA had control the whole time. What do you think about? And I know these two teams, we don't, with them being late night games, we don't get to see a whole lot of. Even though UCLA has, got to play in a few big ones so far. But what do you think so far? At least with Washington State, do you think they're going to bounce back from that, or do you think that maybe this is just the start of what we had mentioned before with the Pac-12 beating each other up at the top?
I think it's part of it. I mean, I don't know what they got moving forward as far as who's next on their schedule. So I was trying to look up and see if I could find it, but
They already had that very impressive win against Oregon State. That one impressed me a lot. And I think they actually
they got Arizona coming up.
Yeah,
then
that'd
they
be a tough one.
Then they have Oregon. Then Arizona State, Stanford, California. So they got Colorado down the road there somewhere. So I mean, they're not. I don't know. I don't look for them to be in the top 10 when it's all over with. Obviously, I think they probably bounce back a little bit from this loss, but they're not going to beat Oregon, I wouldn't think. And they'll win a few games here coming up, other than the Oregon game, and get back in the right direction. But no, I don't think they'll finish top 3. I don't see them finishing top 3 in the Pac-12.
No, I agree with you. I think you got those juggernauts of, Pac-12 teams with USC, Oregon, and Washington up there. And we don't even bring up the fact that, or I hadn't brought up the fact that maybe Utah is and Oregon State, and both of them are up there like 4 and 5. Because you get Cam Rising back for Utah, then that's a totally different team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're still
Utah
good.
was kind of being forgot about because of that loss, but they're still very, very tough out, and so they're going to have a lot to say about how that conference plays out.
Yeah, they haven't had their starting quarterback all year, and we don't know when he's going to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Still trying to recover from the ACL injury from last season. Go over to well, I will say on that game, I think we both had Washington State, so we both lost that one. That was one of a few. Alabama and Texas A&M. Alabama's 11th ranked. They're going over to Kyle Field. Texas A&M, to a lot of people, were the favorites in this game. I know the odds were about even, but from a lot of people I watched, the analysts and stuff, they had A&M winning. They said A&M was a better team.
I didn't understand any of that myself.
No, I think people have. It's crazy like how quick they jump off the Alabama bandwagon.
Just because Alabama's down,
the quarterback down.
Texas A&M's not done enough to make me think they're any good. So,
well, I think they're a better team. A&M is. You're starting to see they got one of the top pass rushes in the country. I think they're like one or two ranking as far as sacks and QB pressures. So you're starting to see some of those 5-stars that they had got from last year's amazing recruiting class start to show up. But Alabama still has the guys that, I mean, they still have that defense. I know it's not been as dominant as it has been, but kind of like how we mentioned with Georgia, being a sleeping giant. I think Alabama, to a degree, has some of that potential. It's just I think people are writing them off because of the quarterback play, and I get it. We don't have they don't have Bryce Young back there. This kind of reminds you of like the days with the Jake Coker and Sims, to where the quarterback play isn't like top notch, but he can still. I mean, he had 321 yards, 3 touchdowns with 1 interception, and he's dangerous on his feet too. Like if he gets the offense down going forward, they can still be a dangerous team. And I think something that I talked to Rusty about this weekend. If you're a Georgia fan, you you're probably gonna be rooting for Alabama every week. And he kind of looked at me funny when I said that. But I was like, think about it. With Georgia's schedule right now, if for some reason you get down to the end and you're splitting hairs between 4 different teams and they're all undefeated, which I mean I don't see how you could ever have Georgia out since they're back-to-back champs. But you'd want your resume to look as good as it can. So you'd want Alabama to be in the top 5, top 10 when you play them in the SEC championship game. So if you do beat them, it looks good. Or if you lose to them, it doesn't look as bad. So if I was a Georgia fan, I'd be pulling for Alabama every week until we play them. But,
Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's just like a more like a versus ranked opponent type of situation where they were at when you beat them deal. But yeah, if Georgia doesn't lose, they're not have nothing to worry about. So, and I think if they do lose, I don't know that they can recover. Whether it's Alabama a ranked team or not, if they lose to, depending on how the rest of it plays out, they're not. I don't know that they're going to have enough quality wins to have. If you have a one loss versus some of the other teams with the one loss that have maybe had a little tougher schedule, you may be hurting anyway.
Yeah, and I mean that's a good segue into our next game, which is I will say we both had Bama in that one as well, so we got it. But yeah, a good segue into the next one we have, and that is 20th ranked Kentucky Wildcats went into Samford and played the number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs. I'm the dummy in this one that picked Kentucky because from what I had seen, Georgia did not have a great rush defense prior to this. They didn't have a great defense statistically prior to this. Ray Davis, which he had a good game for Kentucky, but he had been balling. They had been one of the top running attacks in the SEC, opposed to Georgia not being that great. I didn't think, because I had watched a few Georgia games, the way their OC had been calling it, Bobo, he'd been doing a lot of run first, like heavy run, and Kentucky hadn't even gave up I think 100-yard rusher at all year, and so I thought, Georgia's not gonna be able to run the ball against them. They're gonna get stalled again. Then the offense isn't gonna be going the way he wants. And on the flip side, I thought Auburn, who had no passing attack whatsoever, ran all over Georgia last week. I thought Kentucky having the rushing attack they did would have success against Georgia. I was wrong on all of these.
Let me tell you why Kentucky's defense and numbers is the way it was. They played Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, and Vanderbilt before playing Florida.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that. But the Florida game, and maybe I thought Florida's defense was pretty good. And statistically, it was one of the top defenses in the country. To see Kentucky go in there and beat on them like they did, I thought, wow, okay. To have all this momentum going against Georgia, who had been struggling, like I thought they could surprise them. Now, I will say that I did mention yesterday we had talked about Tyler Hess in his podcast. I had spoke with him yesterday, and he's a huge Georgia fan, just like Rusty. And I said, if your OC calls the game like he did in the fourth quarter of the Auburn game, to where he's throwing some down the field shots and being more aggressive, I think you all have success. And boy, didn't he! Man, he was aggressive with his play calling. And I think that I want to say, I'm not going to say, put it like this, they're pass first yesterday. And that's how I think they need to be going forward. And that's not typical of Georgia. But with the weapons they have, with Bowers, McConkey, and the other guys, Carson Beck yesterday threw for 389 yards and 4 touchdowns. And that really set them up for success going throughout the rest of the game. It opened their offense up in a way that uh, you hadn't seen yet this year. The rushing attack it isn't there. They don't have the backs that they had. And I know Rusty had came on and he had spoke pretty high of some of them, but he also said some of them got hurt before the year. So I don't know if they were supposed to have somebody big or not. But when you go out there and they're throwing the ball like this might be a Georgia team, in my opinion, that is top 1 or 2. And I'm somebody that didn't have them in the top 4 last week on our rankings. So this game was a huge eye opener for me and a good taste of humble pie, I guess.
Well, I tried a lot of those games when you play those teams early in the year. You gotta have to completely throw them out because for whatever whether it doesn't matter to me a lot of times whether you win by 50 or win by some of that's kind of misleading because I'm pretty sure I mentioned before like one of our first episodes. My biggest thing with Georgia this year was that I think they'll get bored. That's my biggest worry is how they were going to stay engaged. Now, I will agree with you on the play calling. They probably could have been doing all this a little bit more, with the passing game. But I guess maybe they're wanting the guys never took snaps before. Like being a starter. Maybe they're trying to ease him into it some, and then maybe they've seen he's ready for it in the Auburn game, so they cut it loose. But yeah, I don't think they could come back and lose next week, and this will all look like you just picked the wrong week to go against them. But I think it's been more of those just waiting to do it type of situations, and now I think they're ready to roll, and they'll be a very tough team to beat from here on out because the defense has not been bad all year. Even in some of these closer games that they've played, it's been offense. So the defense is still the defense.
Well, on that point, prior to this game, they were 113th when it came to sacks.
Well,
and in this game,
if you look at the scores, though.
Oh yeah, no, I
that's
agree
what I'm
with you
talking
on
about.
that.
They give up 21 to UAB in a blowout, but I'm sure it don't look good. And then they give up 20 to Auburn, but I don't know. None of those games really. The Auburn game was a close one. The rest of them, South Carolina, they give up 14. That's not bad. I don't know. They might not be statistically the best defense in like sacks and yards and stuff like that, but they don't let people score a lot.
Well, no, yeah, they don't. They, for the most part, keep it down. But the reason why I brought that up is because they have been known to have those elite pass rushers. Every year for the past 3 or 4 years, they've had guys in the top 10 or at least first round, whatever, pass rushers. So we hadn't seen that yet until yesterday, and they were all over Larry from Kentucky, and that's a huge game changer if they start getting to the quarterback again.
Well, that defense they had last year is probably one of the better defenses I've ever seen in college.
Yeah,
so it's going to take a lot to replace. You want to have a lot coming in to replace that defense, and so they're never going to live up to that team's standards.
No.
But I still can't believe you picked them to beat them in Georgia. If it was in Kentucky, I could see your risk. You're taking a risk, but I can't believe you did it. You picked them to do it in Georgia. Like that's what I thought was the craziest thing.
Hey, listen, I'm honest. I take some gambles every now and then.
You got to go with it one time. Somewhere along the way, you got to pull it. You got to go for it.
I got the Oklahoma one, but I did not get the Georgia one. I don't think I had mentioned it, but the final on this was Georgia 51, Kentucky 13. If you hadn't already seen it. So one more game that we want to talk about in college before we get out of here. I know this episode isn't typically as long as what we usually do, but a lot of this is just instant reaction and going over what had happened the past 2 days. We ain't really previewing anything yet. The final game, which I thought was maybe the biggest surprise. I guess Oklahoma game to an extent, but
no, I think this one was a bigger surprise than Oklahoma because Oklahoma was a very good football team. And I'm not saying this next team's not, but I think this next one was the bigger surprise for sure.
Yeah. We had 10th ranked Notre Dame playing against 25th ranked Louisville. Uh, Louisville ended up, man, that place was crazy. The atmosphere was crazy. They were ready for this one. They won 33-20, which is a huge game for them, I think, to really catapult their season even into another level. They were undefeated going into this, and what is the first year under Coach Jeff Brom. Brom, who I wanted for UVA years ago when he was at, I think, Western Kentucky. He coached at Purdue last year, the last few seasons. He's at Louisville. Had always had a great offense, great offensive coach, and you can see now how that's playing out. Jordan, the running back, had 21 carries for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a heck of a game. Hartman struggled, man. I know we talked about Louisville's offense, but Hartman had 3 picks yesterday, and I think I seen a thing where I think it was Wake Forest was ranked 10th last year when he was with
Mm-hmm.
them, and they had lost to Louisville. And now Notre Dame is ranked 10th this year, and they lost to Louisville.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a weird, fun stat, I guess.
I don't know if
But
I don't know if you can look into it too much, but it almost feels like there's something there in it that you should look at. Almost maybe look.
it's
I
weird.
mean, yeah.
It's weird. Yeah, I think that this is, if you're a Cardinals fan, I think this is an exciting year for you guys because we had those few years where they had Lamar Jackson and they had kind of got into the top 10, top 15, whatever, had a few good years. And that was mostly due to the fact that he was just college superstar, legend in college. It was a blessing for anybody to get to see him play. Uh, he just, I know he's still good in NFL, but in college it was unreal. He's just electric. But I think we're getting into another era with the Cardinals that they're going to have some success, maybe in a little bit different of a way. Maybe it's more of the system opposed to just having an amazing generational talent. And I think maybe the way they got the offense going now and the team as a whole, they might be here for the next few years, especially with the way the ACC could shape up with new teams coming in and maybe some top of the teams leaving or top of the conference teams leaving. But I think it's cool. I think it's cool to see somebody else pop up there as far as in the ACC. So I like it.
I had to stand up. My back's killing me.
Oh, you're good. You're good. I will say we both had Notre Dame in that one, so we both got that one wrong.
You know what's crazy is if Notre Dame had beat Ohio State, I would have had them in my top 4 teams, or at least
Yeah,
top 5. And then for them to do that, it tells you that. I mean, they must. Either they just had a letdown game or something happened there. But if you're that
I
close to
think
beating Ohio State, who they have at 3 now, you should come
yeah.
out and handle Louisville. But
I think they slept on Louisville a little bit. I think a lot of people did. I mean, I thought they had potential because I just think Brom's that good of a coach, but I didn't think that they would beat Notre Dame.
Could you hear me before I pick this up?
Yeah,
I'll
But I
let it
mean,
back
we're
down
not going
here.
to roll too much longer. I mean,
Okay.
I figured we'll get ready to close it out, so
Sorry, I
we
just
want to
couldn't do
save
it no
your
more.
back. Yeah, we
But
don't want
yeah,
you to
I
lose your
don't.
back
Notre
on
Dame,
air.
man. I thought they were. I had high hopes for them this year with that him
Yeah,
transferring in and that defense, but 1 or 2 bounces here or there wrong way, and it lose you a game, then you go in and lose a game you shouldn't. I mean, that's college football
yeah.
for you, I guess.
I think they still have a chance of upsetting USC, but we'll see when that gets there. I mean, they
Yeah.
still got a good team, but definitely did not play their best that night. And Hartman, it's uncharacteristic for him. Those 3 picks, and he got sacked 5 times as well. So offensive line didn't do him any favors.
No.
So, uh, I don't want to waste too much time, like I said, on kind of previewing the week because we'll get that content out there. We'll advertise a little bit for what's coming up. Uh, we'll do a preview coming up probably Wednesday or Thursday, maybe, of this week's high school games and Saturday's college football games, and maybe touch on a few other things here and there. Then, of course, special guest Tuesday that we're going to surprise you guys with. Should be a great episode. Uh, big game for us tonight, so I'm gonna try to hop off here and try to prepare myself for that emotionally, and getting some food ready, and
Let me give a real
go
quick.
ahead.
We don't talk a lot about baseball, but the Braves. I'm a Braves fan, and they lost last night in the playoffs. So I don't know how we could if you'd ever want to talk about this next week, but if they don't win Monday, I'll be in a certain mood for the rest of the week. So if you don't hear from me for a few days, that's why.
I don't know much about baseball, but I don't. I mean, I would love. I've always said if I had the money and I lived close to a stadium, I'd be probably a baseball fan more than I would
Yeah.
anything, just because the atmosphere at a game is amazing. But yeah, I can't sit here and act like I know much about what's going on. But I do know that the Braves had success the last few seasons, so it sucks to see.
If they don't
You
win
know,
Monday, it's going to be a long week for me. So,
you know, well, stay tuned then. Hopefully,
also hunting season
yeah,
started Saturday.
yeah.
Um, Cameron, you're not really a big hunter, but you have shown interest in wanting to maybe go at some point.
Yeah,
Um,
schedules haven't lined up
yeah,
throughout my life to really enjoy it
and
like I would want to. But
I'm not what you'd call a diehard guy, but I do enjoy it and get out and go. And I didn't get to go Saturday, obviously, but I do plan on hunting. But I was going to mention if we have any listeners that are hunters, any of you all get a kill, a good one that you want to share, send a picture. I don't know where
yeah,
could they send that at our Instagram or Porch Talk
I mean, yeah, on any
Facebook
of our
page, maybe.
socials, really. Yeah, I mean, on any of our
Yeah.
socials, we're on Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, TikTok. Uh, I think I mentioned about all of them, but just on any of
Or even
those,
if
or
you
if you
want to
know us
send it
personally,
to our personal ones, we'll throw it
yeah,
up. We'll figure something out. We'll either have we'll post it on one of our things, or we'll show it on the podcast or something. We'll have like a brag board. We'll figure something out. But we're interested in anybody's seasons this year out there, and any kind of anything y'all get,
yeah.
deer,
Good
bear,
luck to
anything.
everybody out
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
yeah. Everybody, good luck, be safe, and hopefully it'll stay cool so we can get some good hunting in. But I just want to throw that out there real quick, mention it because it
yeah.
is that time of
Um,
year.
Definitely. Two things I do want to mention real quick before we get off air. Just I didn't get to talk about it earlier. I wanted to talk about it the other night. Uh, Rusty had introduced me to a cool podcast. For those of you that love the Friday Night Lights series, which I do, it's probably my favorite show. I mean, one of them. There's a podcast out there now called "It's Not Only Football," Friday Night Lights and Beyond, and they go through every single episode. And the two guys that are doing it is the guy who played Matt Saracen and the guy who played Jason Street. They're the two that's doing it, and they have a lot of cool behind the scenes stuff. They have a female that's also on there with them. I don't remember her name, but she's a super fan, so it kind of gives you a perspective just from a fan, going through all those episodes when they aired. So awesome show. I just now started. I'm gonna try to rewatch the whole series with the podcast. It's pretty cool. And I said two
I may have to
things.
check that out myself. That sounds something
Oh
I'd be
yeah.
interested in.
Oh, second thing. I about forgot it. We're gonna try to put out there this week. We have talked about doing it several times. I'm gonna try to make a post this week. Maybe some like mail-in type questions, what they call them. You guys kind of send us some questions. It could be, it really could be anything. But of course, we do cover high school, college, and sprinkle in some NFL, and then big fans of country music. But I mean, you can really send us anything. Uh, we'll shout you out on the pod and answer your questions the best that we can. I mean, the questions obviously going to be something that we'd want to talk on, but definitely we encourage all participation and interaction with us on that. We've had a lot of people talk to us already and give us ideas on guests and stuff like that, and so we're very thankful for that. But
You gotta go. You gotta go get locked in.
yeah, I'm locked in right now, man. The only thing I'm missing is a helmet and some pads, so we'll see. So yeah, again, thank you guys. Sorry about us being a few days late, but we're happy to get this one in, uh, and just give us your thoughts, feedback. Special guest come Tuesday. We'll have a weekly pod out this week as well. So thank you again, guys, and God bless.